And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. Before we get to the interview here with a great guest I've got for you, this is brought to you by the Independent Entertainment Network, which is a new network that myself and Anthony Williams, a friend of mine, have started. We're growing. We've got about 7 people on the network now, and we want to continue to grow that. So thanks for tuning in. Want to talk to you about a new affiliate sponsor that I have, Tattooed and Successful. I'm wearing their shirt, Bet on Yourself, and they are always the cool shirts that I wear. I like to wear things that have, kind of one of those names. So if you would like to get some Tattooed and Successful clothing, use code TANK at tattooedandsuccessful.com at checkout, and you'll get a nice little discount. All right, before we get to now we will get to the guest. Nita Barnard is my guest today. She is a local business owner in Emmett, Idaho. She owns Revel Skin Therapy. I know I was going to mess that up. Here we go. Nita, welcome to the show.
So good to be here.
Yeah, it's super exciting. People who interact with me on Instagram and anywhere that I do anything, they always just I kind of gravitate to those people who have that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, people who want to, bet on themselves and do those types of things. So your story's great. I always like seeing your stories with your books, your little book that's open that's got the notes in there. I always thought you wrote them in there, so it was kind of cool to see that, but always trying to just make people better, and that's what we're looking for.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, we'll go over a lot of it, but just kind of give us a brief synopsis of who you are.
For sure. My name is Nita. I'm an esthetician, which is a skincare professional. I do facials, waxing, that sort of thing in Emmett. So I have a studio in town. I've been married for 20 years. I've got a couple of kids, one in high school, one in middle, and I am building this little skincare empire to hopefully be able to be my husband's sugar mama is the hope, is that he can take a back seat. He has a very demanding job, and it's very high stress, and I would like to be able to take some of that off of his shoulders. So that's part of the inspiration for being self-employed.
So how long have you had the business? Now, we talked a little bit before that it was called something else before, but between the two names and everything, how long have you had it?
So I will be coming up on year 4 in February.
Okay. So you mentioned that you have some high school age kids, or you have a high school age kid, and then you have another one. This was kind of like something that you always wanted to do. Did you do this before you had children, or have you been doing it for, is it just a new thing?
So it's interesting. I've had a bazillion jobs. I've been in the restaurant industry. I worked doing promotions. Like I got to dress up as a piece of garlic for Eclipse Mints back in the day. I did worked in the mortgage industry. I've had all kinds of jobs. And I used to think that made me really flaky. But now I didn't go to aesthetic school until I was 35, and I'm 38 now. And so I used to think that made me a flaky person. But now it's like all of these seemingly unconnected skills have culminated suddenly into this career that didn't come to fruition until my mid-30s. And so, I've always been obsessed with eyebrows, but I didn't even know what an esthetician was until my 20s. And so just these different things about me that I enjoy have kind of bled into this great career that I had no idea was in store for me.
Well, and it's interesting because I have this conversation with my wife a lot, because I do have, I've done multiple things myself. I changed tires. I went to college. I have 2 degrees in education, and then I quit doing that after 4 years, and now I sell window coverings, and then I'm doing this. And so my wife's always kind of like, are you just going to settle on one thing, or are you going to continue to just keep throwing things at the wall? And I think that that's the entrepreneurial spirit. I think that that's the way that it is. You don't ever see these people just doing one thing. They always have all these ideas, and then finally, after a while, boom, it all comes together. So is that kind of the way you look at it? Is that the way you feel about it?
It is the way I feel about it now. There's a good quote that I think I shared in my stories, and the gist of it was all of it's experience, all of it is knowledge, and at some point you're going to be able to use that in a way that maybe you don't even can't even anticipate where it's going to be useful. Like I used to want to write menus professionally, like food menus,
Interesting.
and that's a skill that I've been able to use with writing my menus for work or describing things in my stories or so it's these things that they seem so. That's something that I would tell young people is pay attention to those little things that turn you on and water them, because you just don't know where that's going to lead.
Yeah.
It may not be a professional thing, it might be a passion project or something, but I think that paying attention to those idiosyncrasies that are uniquely yours are clues.
You're right. It's interesting because there's always people who always talk about, like, I made these mistakes. I don't want to repeat these mistakes. I'm not proud of what I did in the past. And I don't necessarily think that you should look at it that way. And I think that a lot of the guests that I have on the show don't look at it that way. You may have made those mistakes, but those mistakes have pushed you. And I don't look at anything as a mistake. I think I look at it as a learning moment, because you pivot and you build off of that. It's funny that you were talking about writing menus. If you could rewrite the Cheesecake Factory menu for me, that'd be great.
I hate going to the Cheesecake Factory for the fact that it is a novel, and then they throw yes. And the last time, it was like there was advertisements in between the menu options, and it just is overwhelming as a guest. And I will say that when you have that many things on a menu, it's very difficult to pull all of them off excellently.
Yep.
And those type of restaurants and even services where people are trying to do all of them and they're kind of mediocre at them instead of excelling in one or two things is kind of a turnoff for me from a customer experience standpoint anyway.
Right. Yeah, and it was funny. We were there last weekend with my brother, and I was just sitting there going, I can't pick. And we were all that way. All four of us were sitting. Well, not my 8-year-old. She knew what she wanted. She
knew.
Spaghetti or mac and cheese or whatever she got. I couldn't remember, but she knew. So the kids' menu is really small.
I'm surprised that they haven't, so many people have had that feedback about that particular chain. I'm surprised that they haven't pivoted that.
Yeah.
Because something I'm personally passionate about is guest experience. And so all of the things that lead up to their experience, what is it like walking in the door? What is it like looking at your Instagram? All of those things inform a guest experience of you. And so those little frustrations are negative, And so I have a hard time with those when there's just, you can take that out and just take out that conflict, take out the advertisements at least, and it makes it so much easier for the guest.
Yep, that novel is a little daunting sometimes. So let's talk about what you're doing now. You said you're an esthetician. What kind of services do you offer, and what is your favorite thing to do? Because you talked about having a menu, so it sounds like you probably just kind of work on the things that you're best at.
I do. Waxing brows and facials are my top two services. I do full body waxing. I do lash lifts, which is like a perm for your lashes. It curls them.
Wow.
I know the things that chicks do.
I don't know a whole lot about these types of things, so
yeah. But facials are my flagship experience, and that's really where my passion lies, is creating an experience and just making somebody just the center of restoration and relaxation, and of course skincare. But for me, the skincare is like the cherry on top, and it's the experience that really turns me on.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of one of those things that when you, like, as a male, I buy my wife from time to time, I'll buy her massages or a facial or stuff like that, and the idea to me is that she's going in there and she's going to have a relaxing time, and she's going to enjoy the experience like you're talking about, and she'll want to go back and she'll want to do it again, and it'll seem like a treat instead of just like, oh, well, here you go. So yeah, I can understand that completely, and the experience making them want to come back is a big deal because you want repeat customers.
Right. And there's just things that, going to the hair salon is kind of a busy thing. It's a high energy. And so having a place where it's very tranquil in my space. I have candles. I mean, I think of all of those things, once again, harking to that customer experience. I have a warmer for their clothes. So when they're done, they have warm clothes to put on. Those things that really enhance the whole sensory situation that someone, enjoys when they're with me. And so and it's building relationship. And so getting to even, the whole point of your show, my core value is creating connection around people and with people, and that bleeding out into the community. And for me, my work is just the vehicle that gets me to connection.
And that is something that, it's funny because this conversation comes up. I know you've listened to the show, but it comes up all the time with it because I think that connecting with people is a huge thing. And a lot of people will sit there and they'll say something negative about someone or something or whatever, but they never really know when they're going to run into someone who could make a change for them or they could help them. And that's what I like. I mean, honestly, like I've watched your stories. I've been around you. We've been connected through someone else. You heard my interview with Desiree. Desiree is friends with you, and we're connected, right? And then you start spreading things on your story, and I'm start sharing things in mine because we gravitate towards that type of interaction, and that's really what it's about: sharing it with others and building other people up. And this, for me, has always been showing other people that success is not one thing. It's whatever you want it to be. And that's what I love about it, is that I can have you on talking about skincare. I can have you talking about your experiences that you've had through the year and through your life. And it's different for everyone. So that's what's really cool about it. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know we've just talked about your skincare stuff, but what are some of the things that you felt out that made you want to push forward into the next thing? Let's talk about that a little bit.
So my goal is to be able to make enough so I can, what I tell my husband, I like to fuck, I want fuck around time. I want time to do things that maybe I don't make money at, which is being involved in my community, volunteering on boards. I just started a women's monthly dinner for business women in my town because we're kind of cut off geographically from everybody else. And so the things like that the women's groups that she's a part of, I love them, but they're so far away and they're not women that I see in my day-to-day life. So I wanted to bring that here. So I started that, and I'm a part of my chamber in town. And so that is the bread and butter for me. I'm doing that even. That is my goal, to be able to finance my life enough that I can have free time to really invest in this place that I live, and be with people that are amazing, other amazing business owners, and keeping the health of our local economy healthy. It matters.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that, I live in Boise, and I did live in Star for a little while, but it's like you get to the point where you're really trying to be involved in so many different things, and it's tough to do. So I applaud you for that, because it's really hard to find time. Emmett's kind of a smaller town, right? And it is not. I feel like it's not gonna. It's just like Star. It's like it's not gonna stay that way for long. Idaho is growing so rapidly. I know that there's a ton of new construction in Emmett as well, because my job takes me throughout Treasure Valley. So you're getting more and more people over there. It's kind of one of those bedroom communities, but then again, it's, 10, 15 miles from any other city, really. And that isn't very far, but it is kind of a long drive when you're thinking about everywhere else you go.
And yes, we're growing. There's a lot of construction, and there's some concern with that, especially with our school system. And there's reluctance to improve our local schools. We have a hard time getting support that way. But I really think when you can maintain that feeling of community if you're in it, if you're doing the things, if you're part of the chamber, if you know the other business owners, if you wave to people on the road as you drive past them in the neighborhood. You can grow and maintain the community. And that's my goal. I think that's important because I'm not from here. And there's a lot of hate from people that come from out of state. And some of it might be warranted. But from my experience, I get to have a lot of one-on-one time with people. And they tell me things that they don't tell anybody else. And most of the people that come here want the same things that are already here.
Yep.
And some of them don't, and some of them I wish probably that they weren't here, but you're going to get some of that. But overall, the overall majority of them, because I get a lot of new guests, that's how they find me is through IG.
Right.
The overwhelming majority of them want that community and want the small town feeling and want to preserve what makes Idaho incredible. And I just want to be a voice for that and not be a person that comes to a place that I'm not born in and take.
Yep.
You know, there is some validity in that argument that people come from out of state because of at least in my community, our property taxes are a lot lower than surrounding areas. And that's why they move sometimes. And they're not invested in the actual people that are there. They're there because of the taxes.
Yeah.
And so I want to highlight that there are so many people that are making the place great. For instance, we have a steakhouse in town. They've been open for several years now. They're not from here. They're from California. But if it wasn't for them, the 100-year-old building that they're in would be crumbling. They have several employees, so they're bringing economic prosperity. They're providing a place for people to connect. And if it wasn't for those out-of-state or transplanters, we wouldn't have that. And we should highlight and be grateful, you know? So that's important to me, to be a part of it and be making it better.
Well, and I think, you know, we're both kind of in the same type of deal, customer service sale. I mean, really, you're a salesman. You're selling your products,
yes.
And you provide a service, so you're selling that service. But it's the same thing with us. You know, I'm selling window coverings throughout the day, and I walk into a lot of houses, and I will tell you, you know, 75% of the houses that I walk into are brand new houses built with someone who's from out of state, and that doesn't. I have conversations with them. I interact with them. You know, I kind of tell them a little bit about myself, and you know, it's funny because they're good people. You know, a lot of them are law enforcement. A lot of them are out of, you know, emergency service people. And those are the kind of people that I want here. You know, I want to feel more protected in my neighborhood. I want to know that there's someone who could defend me. I mean, I can defend myself, but I want to, you know, I want to know that there's other people that are that way. And they do, like you said, they want a lot of what we want. But there is, you know, one or two that are not that way, and you run into them. But I think that people don't realize that there's people like that everywhere. It doesn't matter.
Everywhere.
There's a lot of people in this state that were native to this state that think just like the people that they think are coming here. So it's kind of weird. But I think you gotta make that decision yourself, and that's all there is to it. You can't get to know someone just by the way that they look or the way that they talk or anything like that. And that's, you know, I mean, it's something that's why I got behind the brand that I'm wearing right now. I mean, they're called Tattooed and Successful, and you look at it, someone sees your arm, someone sees my arm, and the first thing they think is there's a tattooed thug. I mean, that's changing over time, but that doesn't mean that you can't be a successful person just because you have tattoos or the color of your skin or where you're from. I mean, hating people from other states it's kind of the same thing as being, you know, I don't want to dumb it down to racism, but it's like there's a reason it really is the same thing. You're segregating people.
You're making assumptions based on preconceived ideas, and some might ring, but you just, like you said, having a conversation, it's really hard to hate someone up close. And when you can find something that you have in common with them, and that's, I mean, you know, from my stories, I try to share things from both sides of the aisle because I think we spend so much time and we're pushed to like make it the other, talk about the other and this tribalism. And we have so much more in common if we focus on the good things. Like we're exacerbating the negative by focusing so much on the negative. And I just think that there's a lot of positive to be had.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's like we, as a society, buy negativity by the most part, and then so the media sells us this negativity, and so now we're just going to think that everything's negative. We don't know the truth unless we do the research ourselves. And if you're watching the news, not a real good place to find the truth.
Not a real good place. And really, the best, that's why we need conversations
Yes.
and talking to people and connecting. Like, technology is so fabulous for so many things, but it is not a substitute from looking at somebody in the face over dinner and trying to understand each other.
Yeah, it's definitely a lost art. I mean, and that's you sit here and you're texting and you're doing whatever you're doing, and then you don't have that conversation. I would rather call someone and talk to them. That's the way that I've always been. But you also cannot not do it, because if you don't, then you're going to be lost in the shuffle. And this new generation that's coming up is the technology generation. So we have to learn to work with them or go the way of the dodo, right? So I think it's really cool that you're getting involved in the community. You talked a little bit about working with the chamber. One of the things that you were talking about when I was like, hey, we need to get you on, when you were talking about working at the school, and that was really enjoyable for you. I was a teacher before, so it's kind of one of those things where I see it from both sides, because parent involvement sometimes can be a little crazy. But if you're on the right hand side, how are you involving yourself with that? What are you doing there?
So I listen remotely to all of the board meetings just to know what's going on. And then I am a part of a curriculum review. Right now, we are possibly bringing in a new history curriculum, and so I'm a part of that committee that's kind of going through it and seeing if it matches the state standards, which has been an education all in itself. These they are spelled out. You have to do this, you have to do this. And so now we're going through with a fine-tooth comb. Does it meet this requirement? Is it, and looking for bias? Is it presenting it neutrally?
Yeah.
Because that's also a concern with curriculums that are coming through. I want my kids to make their own choices. I want teachers to teach my kids how to think critically. And so that has been, and we've only made, I think, 2 meetings so far, and it's probably going to be a 9-month process or something like that, or 8-month process. So just that little bit has opened my eyes. And that's the most of what I've done as far as the school. And I've done, I got to speak at the alternative high school about being a small business owner. And that was awesome. That was awesome to talk to the kids. And they're so thoughtful. And even the ones that are a little rough around the edges, they bring some great ideas and some awesome questions. I was really impressed with how engaging that they were. And I grew up in a really dysfunctional home, which is a very mild. That's nice. And so I see a lot of I just want kids to know that you can make choices different than what your parents are making for you.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I felt really incredibly blessed to be able to be like, I was the kid that got the stuffed animals from the cops when the cops came to my house. I was that kid.
Right.
And I still turned out okay. And so that was moving to me. I felt like I was able to do something good with some of the stuff that I had gone through and maybe connect with some of those kids.
Well, and I think that's a big thing, because I think that a lot of times you hear and you think that circumstances define you, and they do not. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. And that's a great story to hear, because you can pull yourself out of that pit if you want. And honestly, most people only see the end result. They never see the beginning. And it's where you came from. And a lot of people judge. I hate that, because a lot of people judge like, oh, he's driving around a brand new car. Well, yeah, he's driving around a brand new car. Why? Do you know why he's driving around a brand new car? I can't afford a brand new car. Well, what are you doing to better yourself? What are you doing to build on that? What are you doing to get that brand new car, if that's important to you, right? So that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, I have a hard time personally with victim mentality, because it's not helpful. And so even if you're struggling or have had a shitty situation, succumbing to it is not helpful. And so you can use that to inform you and become a stronger person. And I think talking to our kids about being resilient, and yes, these happen, and it's important to acknowledge, and it's important to feel the feelings. But like you said, that doesn't define you. It can inform this incredible launching pad to be something awesome.
Right. Yeah, and it's crazy because, we grew up, we're pretty close in age. And I'm assuming that my parents were always like, go to college, get a degree, go do this, because I want you to have more than I had, and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I think that those alternative school types are the ones that we need. You don't have to go to college. You can learn a trade. You can be successful in that. You can build your own company. You can do all these things without having a degree, but we've sent it down this path of you have to have a degree. And that's a bunch of bullshit. I don't agree with it.
It is bullshit. I don't believe it either. And like one cool thing about our school district is we have Payette River Technical Academy, which it's attached to the high school, but it's not attached to the high school. And my son's in their culinary program. They just opened an aerospace program. Like they have their own hangar at Sawyer Field. They do like all of the technical things. And so they're giving kids actual tangible skills. Right. And whether or not my son becomes a chef doesn't matter to me, but at least he's going to be able to cook for himself. Right. And that has got to be part of the conversation always, I think, is like, and talking about return on investment. If we're looking at it from a business standpoint, my school was around $10,000. Well, I made that up easily in the first 8 months after I graduated. Not that that's a move for everybody. We do need doctors and people that are willing to take out incredible amount of loans. But I think it's wild that we expect our kids to know who they're going to be at 18. And I tell my kids, I'm like, get a trade. Even if you don't want to do it forever, you've got a great return on investment. You can make great money as an electrician and then go pay cash for what you really want to do. And then you have a barterable skill. So if shit hits the fan, you have something, you have a tangible skill. You can barter an electric trade anytime, And so I try to get my kids to think about that and not think that once they make their decision, that's their decision for their whole entire life. Because obviously, we've talked about that. You didn't either. Like you walked through different professions and so I think that's something young people need to be aware of, that there are other ways to have a successful life. And it doesn't have to be that one track. You decide to be a pediatrician and that's where you go, or you decide to be whatever it is.
I love that you thought about your return on investment, because I never thought about it that way, like college. And I can guarantee you if I continued to do what I was doing, there would be no return on my investment, because there's no way that I could ever even afford to pay my student loan bills teaching. But again, I don't want to knock that, like you were talking about. There are people who want to be doctors. There are people who want to be teachers. There are people that I truly believe that they love what they're doing, and they say that they're doing it because they love it. But then there are also people that I see that are doing it just to get by,
Yeah, or they think they should be doing it and spend time in school and then realizing they've, like you said, or saddling down themselves with all of this debt. For what end? And not that they shouldn't, not that, like you said, not that kids shouldn't, but we should be having a more well-rounded conversation of what it looks like.
Yeah. In the end result, there should be those people who are talking about what the actual return is, like you were talking about. That's, oh man, makes me want to teach a class. Maybe not. I don't want to teach. But I get like it. Those are things that we don't learn about anymore. And I just think it's ridiculous that we're going to learn some of these things, but we don't learn the basic skills of what that's going to look like. Go and get all the student debt you can to get an education and not know what you're going to get back when you do it. They need to have a class before you take that class, It's crazy. Well, it's been awesome having this conversation. I really enjoy it. Let's talk about where we can find you, who can come visit you, what you got going on. I know you're on Instagram.
Yeah,
Talk about that.
I am on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. From there, you can find all of my contact details. If you'd like to come see me in the studio, you can shoot me a text. You can find my text number there. And I'm booked out about 6 to 8 weeks, which I feel very, very fortunate. I have a wonderful clientele who take very good care of me. And Instagram's the best place. From there, you can get to my little website. You can get to my scheduling and anything else.
And I will say this, because this is always my thought process when I think about like skincare or anything like that. It's a great Christmas gift. Do you have gift cards?
I do. I have good gift cards, and they're like hard gift cards. They're not flimsy paper, so you can actually keep them in your wallet and not lose them, with no expiration date.
Oh, that's awesome. That's always the great one. Like it's funny because I gave my wife a spa package and it took her probably 2 years to use it, but it didn't have an expiration date, which was nice.
Yes.
If you don't use it, you lose it. Nope. That's great.
No.
Well, awesome. So we have one last question, and I know that this is always the one that sometimes stumps people, but I know you've kind of answered it once before, but I'm assuming that over the last couple months, you've thought about it a little bit more. So that question is, the show is called Shaping Success, and success is different for every individual. How do you define success, and what is the shape of your success?
I define success as using my gifts for profit and for the betterment of my community. And that really covers it.
I think that's great. I mean, I love the fact that you've talked about your community so much, and you can totally tell that you love it and you want to just build that up to be something that is awesome. So I really do appreciate that. You can tell that that's there. Well, I want to say thank you for taking the time to be on the show. It's been great, and I look forward to, watching and following and seeing how much more you grow, because being booked out 6 to 8, that's a pretty dang good booking. So
I feel very lucky. Well, I'm so glad that we've gotten to connect, and I'm thankful to Des that she turned me on to you. It's I love seeing that there's a local great Boise podcaster that we get to enjoy, and so I'm going to keep sharing your stuff. That last conversation, that actor really was such a great. I was completely captivated by him. So I'm enjoying even seeing the evolution of you and your guests and the types of people that you're attracted to. It's really been valuable for me.
Yep, it's been exciting, and it only gets better. The conversations, like when I started doing this, I was writing everything down, and now I write down like 2 or 3 things because it just comes out. It doesn't feel natural when I'm trying to do like just an interview. It's one of those things where I want people to know that this is really me and this is how I connect to people. So it's fun. I look forward to doing it for a lot longer.
I hope so. Well, I hope to bump into you in person at some point. But thank you for having me.
You will. I will. I'll make it a point the next time I'm over there if I have time to stop by and just say hi. So
I'd love it.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Yep, you too. All right, everyone. Well, that is the end of the show. I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in. Again, if you are watching this on Apple Podcast, if you're listening to this or watching this on Apple Podcast, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcast or watching this on Facebook or wherever you're at, please take the time to like, share, and review. Help other people see it. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.